Hey folks, Ray from Rainmaker.com here. Today we have a Skydio R1 drone. Now you may have seen a bit of this on my Twitter feed or other things like that. A pretty incredible drone, probably one of the most incredible sports action camera drones I've tested, and I've tested a lot of drones focused on that sports kind of realm. In other words, following you as on your bike, you're running, you're doing whatever the heck you're doing. That's sort of what I'm here for, and that's what I'm here to talk about the R1 for. And I've been testing this for a little while now, and it's pretty impressive. You may be asking, why is it so impressive? What's so unique about it? Well, the first thing is it's totally autonomous, meaning that it's gonna follow me as an object, me on my bike or running or whatever it may be, by recognizing me as an object. Now you may be saying, well, DJI has been doing that for a while. And that's true, but if you know anything about that, you know that DJI's active track is generally pretty horrible when it comes to actual sports. If you're circling around an empty football field, then yeah, it's kind of fine. But for anything else, it doesn't really work that well. I've done tons of videos on that up there. So I was curious when this came out whether or not it would do a better job. Now in this case, it has 13 cameras that's going to track you and avoid objects. So on each side here, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The front one there is the one that actually records you. The rest of these are primarily there for obstacle avoidance. Now use these 13 cameras to navigate through the trees like this potentially, or other trees, or any of that sort of environment at all, to avoid things. And it does that for as long as it continues to track you. And the tracking is primarily done on this front camera there. So again, these cameras are primarily obstacle avoidance, and this front one is for tracking. Now this front camera is on a gimbal. If I remove the little safety clip right there, you'll see that it moves up and down. And then go ahead and shoot in 4K, 30 frames per second, or 1080p, 60 frames per second. I would generally recommend 4K 30 for everything here. You can get higher resolution, better clarity. Yeah, you're losing the 60 frames per second, but honestly, for the speeds we're talking here and the type of action we're talking, you're probably gonna want the 30 frames per second. Now at this point, you may be wondering what's different about something like this compared to the AirDog drone I've tested in the past, or the Stalker drone. Well, in those cases, they are following a little transmitter. So you wear this little thing on your arm there, on an armband, and it follows that. So that's sending a GPS signal at your location, your altitude, everything to the drone, and the drone is simply following that hell or high water. And it does a fantastic job of that, except one problem. There's no obstacle avoidance. There's no optical avoidance of any obstacles whatsoever. And so it's great if you're in a wide open area, but it would never work on this. I mean, it would crash within a couple seconds. So certainly you've seen some of the marketing stuff around this, really well edited videos, even some continuous clip shots that you're like, wow, that's certainly impressive. But are there catches there? Are there things they're not actually showing you that would show up in real life? That's what I set to find out. So in this case, I did 3 core tests. One, I went running, and I went running on a path that started off a little bit open with certainly trees around, so it wasn't like super simple. And then it went into a tree tunnel, and then from there it went onto like the beach and all sorts of cool stuff, a chain link fence to see if it would track right next to that. So let's go ahead and look at that clip now. Okay, so here we are up in the air. I'm gonna go tap myself on the screen right there. There we go. And at this point, I'm ready to start running. I'm just gonna hold my phone because it's really kind of wonky in the pocket. I tried sticking in there. Nothing wrong with the Skydio, it just simply flops around these running pockets quite a bit more than I want it to, so I'm afraid it's gonna fall out. So, a couple hundred meters here, and then it dives into a bit of a tree tunnel. So I'm just curious to see how well this works. I'm not interacting with my phone at all, so the screen is actually off right now. Just gonna let it do its thing. Anyway, here it is. Go, there we go. Here we go. It's definitely following along. It certainly slows down a bit though. It's a bit more cautious in here, that's for certain. It's trying to stay that 1 meter away from any obstacles. And as we exit here, it's a bit tight for that 1 meter minimum rule there, because of a pole in the middle of the road that you'll see. So I find it best to kind of just shoot straight out and hang a left, or right, sorry. There we go. Keep on going here, do a bit of a loop and come back to the tunnel again. Fun. Cut now. Got it. Watch it. Here we go, back in the tunnel. And the 1 meter minimum is kind of tight there. that's 1 meter from the drone, so 1 meter to the left, to the right, up, above. So it's not just like a 1 meter gap that has to squeeze through. It really tough. Not too shabby. What I'll do now is I'll try to go and stick it in lead mode for the fun of it. I'll unlock my phone. And lead. So there we go. It'll take a second and sweep around in front of me somehow. Come on, not running that fast. There we go. And we'll call that done right there. So, not too shabby, eh? So as you saw there, pretty damn impressive. I mean, that was like super impressive. The next question is road cycling. Now I divided this into two separate tests. The first one is road cycling along kind of the same area where you saw me running there. It's somewhat open, but there's certainly trees, there's things to watch out for. And that's, you know, I was keeping my speed to basically below 25 miles an hour, which is the maximum speed this can track. Now in talking to the Skydio folks, what they said is that's primarily a function of outrunning the optical avoidance sensors. So in other words, kind of like outrunning your headlights in a car, same sort of concept here. They're concerned at this point that these sensors, these optical avoidance sensors on the side here, only can see tens of meters outwards right now. And if you get going too fast, like say 50 miles an hour or 45 miles an hour, which is pretty common for like the max speed of a DJI drone, that you would potentially not be able to stop in time of an object. They are saying though that they look to increase that speed over time, given this just been out a couple weeks. They want to kind of see where things are and then potentially go up from there depending on what they learn. Nonetheless, this bike ride here is below 25 miles an hour, so it's on road, so you have a bit more space around you. It's an area that there's virtually no cars on. Keep in mind, this will not avoid moving objects faster than walking speed. So no cars or even like other cyclists or something like that are coming towards you. So you got to be careful that anytime you're using a drone, you should not be using it on a place that has a lot of activity going on. Just common sense there. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at the cycling side of things and see how well it worked. Okay, so here we are with the drone in the air. I'm gonna do it on follow mode in a second here. I put it a little bit higher than normal for the simple fact that I wanna make sure in case any cars do come down this generally deserted road, that doesn't hit them basically. So, here we go. Get the speed up a little bit here. I'm gonna go to about 20-ish or so miles an hour. Up there, bring the altitude down, follow along behind me. It's not very good with power lines. There we go. Just a second, I'm going to switch it over to lead mode here. It's always kind of tricky, but we'll give it a shot. Once I clear these trees, since I know it doesn't generally switch to lead mode in the trees, so here we go, lead mode. Now it's this job to pass me, which could be tricky because there's a bit of wind here, kind of right at the limit as I is. Come on, little guy, you can do it. Get around me. It's having some problems trying to get around me. I'll give it a chance. I'll slow down here. Come on. I find once it gets to lead mode, it's usually pretty good, but it's the getting there part that can be tricky. There we go. Bring the altitude down a little bit. Lead mode. On side to side, and whoa, it almost took out a tree if it hit it. The important thing here is it didn't actually crash, by the way. So it came really, really close to this tree, but it didn't crash. So it basically got itself in a pickle where it was trying to come back around again from behind up to lead mode, and this basically tree wall here happened. And before it could realize what happened, it it had to stop and it braked. It was really impressive. Like it just went and stopped right in front of it there. But that's part of the problem where they talk about outrunning the headlights from a speed standpoint. So basically, I was at 22 or so miles an hour, so kind of right at the beginning there, and right at the edge there. And so it simply couldn't get back up to lead mode quick enough. And in that case, it couldn't really resolve that problem, so I had to stop as opposed to going over or around. So let's step it up a notch. Let's see what happens when we go mountain biking. We'll get back to the second road bike test in a second. Let's see mountain biking. Okay, let's see if we can do this again this time. Comparing 18 miles an hour right now. So, do the lead position here now. Tracking. I mean, I'm at 15 miles an hour again. Almost seems to be doing better right here and in other circumstances. Battery low, so just triggered its battery low. So it's following me at least, which is cool. Got about 6% battery left. I think at 4% will stop, if I remember correctly. Oh, sorry, 8% battery right now. And it's definitely off the tree somewhere. So again, return to phone. See if we can get out of this little pickle here. So as you saw there, for this particular environment, right here in these woods with this sort of, fairly dense bush type of stuff, and right here is actually the least dense of where I've been a lot of the time, it's not practical. It just doesn't work really well there. I would not spend $2,500 on this to use it in this environment. But if you're in other environments, like I've been mountain biking in Nevada and Tahoe, desert environments, stuff like that, absolutely. There's nothing there for this to worry about. So it can track you all day long.
We're chasing the easy life. We're chasing the easy life. We're chasing the easy life. We're chasing the sun tonight. We're chasing the easy life. Easy life.
From a tracking standpoint, it did track me incredibly well. Like, it could always see me. It never really lost tracking. It lost the ability to find a path to me, which is a core difference there. So it's a matter of them updating their algorithms to get smarter around avoiding objects and stuff like that. Which brings us to the last test, back out on the road bike. Now here what I did is I wanted to see what happened when I went above 25 miles an hour, above that speed limit they've set for the R1. What does it do? Does it simply stay there? Does it try to catch up? Does it chalk onto the phone? Let's go see what happens. So here we go. So here we go, just a bit of a speed test. See how well it follows. 18, 20, 25. as you saw there, once I exceeded that speed limit and it can no longer track me and no longer keep up with me, it just hung out. It just basically said, I give up, let me know when you come back and want to get to me. Which is both good and bad. On one hand, it's good that it's not gonna like immediately land, which is what a lot of the drones do when they lose signal. They're like, boom, down we go. And that's not really the best place for it to land in most cases. And so it just chilled there until you either got back to it or its battery ran out. So that's pretty cool. But it didn't follow you. It didn't use the cell phone signal that it has, knowing where you are, to go ahead and try and catch up to you, maybe going higher elevation, clearing stuff, just finding some other way to keep up with you. It doesn't really do that. Hopefully that's a software thing they can do to look at that and say, hey, let's just go ahead and get beyond that and get going, but we'll see. Speaking of things people compared, we've also got battery life. This battery right here is 15 rough minutes, give or take. And I've seen it's been pretty consistent with that. I'm getting 15 minutes and I'm landing at like 2% of battery or less than 2%. Like when the 2% bar goes away, I'm still flying and trying to get down to the ground. Not too shabby. Then we have portability. How portable is this? Well, it's kind of portable. It is definitely not a Spark, it's not a Mavic Air, it's not even a Mavic. It's better or slightly different than a Phantom. You know, I skied a lot and cycled a lot, even with a Phantom back in the day, before there was the Mavic and now the Mavic Air and the Spark. And so I'm used to doing sports with those larger drones, but having to go back now from the Spark and the Mavic Air to this size is a bit of a pain in the butt. Also, it doesn't fold down. You might be like, oh, maybe I can just fold the wings, if you will, the side pieces into itself and make a nice little package, a little bundle. No, not so much. I found it does fit in this backpack here, which is kind of a clunky backpack, but it just fits like perfectly inside there. So again, not like super ideal, but not a deal breaker either. Like taking this backpack out riding with me, no big deal. I couldn't stick much else in there once I was done with that, but it's certainly not the end of the world. So that leaves us with the elephant in the room. Is it worth $2,500? And that's a really tough question. You know, I think it's going to totally depend on your specific environment. And unfortunately, I can't test every environment in the world as much as I'd love to. I'm here right now, and that's where I can test things. And what I found is that when you're talking things that are not the shrub and the bush like this, it works fantastically well. Like, it is the coolest, most active tracking drone out there, end of story, period. But when you find stuff like this, you realize this is just a useless stuck drone, just like every other drone. It just simply waits for you and goes, I don't know what to do next. And so that's something where I would have a really tough time recommending this for $2,500 at this point in time, given the other drones that you could buy for $2,500. You could buy like 3 or 4 Sparks. You could buy almost a DJI Inspire 2 if you could find it on sale, which is an incredibly powerful drone, not at all for sports tracking, but like cool in every other way. I'd be really surprised if we don't see a significant price drop on this by Christmas time, 2018 here. I just don't think it's that viable at $2,500. I've also got to believe they're looking to get acquired. They've raised something like $80 million in VC funding so far in this project, which is a crap ton of VC funding for a drone project. So that's certainly a play to it, but realistically, the only company that's going to acquire them that has any sort of meaning is DJI. No one else has the cash or the incentive to acquire them except them. So I would say, Skydio, you have my money, my credit card number at $1,500, likely $1,000, absolutely. At $2,500, I buy a lot of gadgets every year, and I just don't think I can justify $2,500 for something that doesn't absolutely positively work in every single scenario. Which isn't to say that it's not impressive. It never crashed. It always erred on the side of caution. That is worth something. Even when it buzzed a couple tree branches here, a little too close, it didn't crash. Like, it just did a little dance, and then it kept on going. So, well done, almost there. Let's see where you can go from here. Let's see what algorithm changes you can make. I'm looking forward to it. With that, thanks for watching. Go and mark that like button as well as the subscribe button down there. Lots more good stuff to come. I'll probably throw some other sample footage up there as well over the next little while, but have a good one.